Chapter 2. Undeniable Evidence for Life After Death. The 9 Evidences. Overview.
What happens when we die? Do we simply cease to be? Or do we survive in some form?
There's millions of Americans that have had a near-death experience. They're not rare. When I first heard about near-death experiences, I thought they were so fantastic that I wanted to believe this, but an extraordinary claim like that requires extraordinary evidence.
I certainly understand people's skepticism about this. If it hadn't happened to me, I'd be skeptical about it too.
I sat there and thought to myself, this story just sounds crazy. Nobody's going to believe this. I mean, I was a pretty big spiritual skeptic, and to say those things or to even think about that experience was it was a lot for me to take in.
I did not want to believe this, but I've been in the presence of dying people more than any skeptic I've ever met.
Were you a skeptic before this about
Yes.
this? You were?
Yes, I was working with cancer patients prior to this happening. They would tell me they saw things, and they would say, "Can you see them?" And I'd say, "No, I can't see them." Then I would leave the room and tell the resident, "You better check their morphine."
The scientific side of me could not see how that could be, and yet it was a very, very powerful memory. I do not believe that there is a good neurophysiologic explanation for what happened to me.
Eben Alexander's experience was profound and life-altering, but it is by no means unique.
Well, out of 1,300 near-death experiences that I've studied, Mary Jo's experience is absolutely typical of what people describe.
I saw this light, and it was kind of off in the distance. And my husband was by my bed, and I saw that light. And then I remember kind of looking at him. So I was like, okay, so I see this light, but I'm not dreaming. And I was thinking, is that the tunnel that the cancer patients used to tell me about? It was so small. And then all of a sudden, it came larger, and I folded into it. And I was in it.
It is by no means unique.
If near-death experiences were culturally determined, then people that had never heard of near-death experiences would have a different experience. But we're not finding that. Whether you know or don't know about near-death experience, the time it happens has no effect on whether the experience happens or not, or what the content is.
So based on your data, what is the proof?
Those that are blind, including blind from birth, can have visual near-death experience.
Vicky Naratuk had been blind from birth.
I was at Harborview Medical Center and looking down at everything that was happening. Initially, it was pretty scary. I finally recognized my wedding ring and my hair, and I thought, is this my body? I went up through the ceiling as if it were nothing. I was overwhelmed by that experience because I couldn't really imagine what light was like.
My research involved a study of young children age 5 and under, and I found the content of their near-death experiences absolutely identical to older children and adults, suggesting that whether you know about near-death experiences, what your cultural upbringing is, what your awareness of death is, doesn't seem to have any effect.
Colton was 4 with a near tragedy. What they thought was the flu turned out to be a burst appendix. Colton, today, so you're 11, this all happened to you when you were 4. He began speaking about things he couldn't possibly know about. His mother's miscarriage, his father's prayers.
When he told us about his sister in heaven, another one of those holy cow moments.
How would you explain it to a 3-year-old that a baby died in your tummy?
Okay, he can't make this up. He can't invent this. No memory was planted. He could tell me where I was while he was in surgery. The surgeon couldn't tell me that. The nurses in there couldn't. My wife couldn't tell me where I was praying, but he could tell me.
The problem with all of these physiological explanations is that they don't account for the complex thinking, the memory formation, the perceptions that take place when we know the brain is not capable of doing complex thinking.
If it is possible to think while flatlined, afterlife is proven.